downtown where you can get a date for 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Isis Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Isis Dark Incubus at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Better get the cool slow, y'all, because we're having us a barbecue. Actress Tia Mowry says in a recent interview that recovering from her divorce from Cory Hardrict is a whirlwind journey. Now, Tia Mowry's latest statements are the latest effort of her to try to spin a story regarding her divorce and the entire aftermath of it. And her saying that she recovered from her divorce from Cory Hardrict and it being a whirlwind journey is a textbook example of the kind of statement that many black women make when they're too proud to admit when they're wrong. And that's what Tia Mowry is doing right now, refusing to admit that she made a mistake back in 2022 when she filed for divorce from her husband, Cory Hardrict, for absolutely no reason, because according to her and both Cory Hardrict, they both say that Cory Hardrict did not cheat on Tia Mowry, he did not abuse Tia Mowry, he did absolutely nothing to this woman. However, she went out here and filed for divorce from him, all because she wanted to have her turn, and she was saying that it was her time. Unfortunately, over the year after this divorce, as she got her turn and her time, what happened to Tia Mowry is that she got turned out in the social marketplace, and as she got turned out in the social marketplace and got a rude awakening as she wanted to go out and experience the world of dating, because she, in her own words, said that she had graduated from marriage, and because she had graduated from marriage, she wanted to go out and experience the single life. She then decided to enter the social marketplace, and once she entered the social marketplace, she got a rude awakening, and that rude awakening was learning that her social marketplace value had basically dropped lower than a $20 food stamp without the book. And Tia Mowry's social marketplace value dropped lower than $20 without a food stamp without the book because of Tia Mowry's own actions, and it was Tia Mowry's own actions that basically led to her winding up on what she called a whirlwind journey, but that whirlwind journey was actually a downward spiral, and that downward spiral was going from being in the peak place of the social marketplace by being a married woman to a husband with 2 children to dropping all the way down to the place known as Bust Downtown, where a woman's social marketplace value drops lower than 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price. And that was the shock to Tia Mowry's system as she entered the social marketplace and did not find the rich guy she thought was going to be there waiting for her, because what happens with a lot of women like Tia Mowry is that as they get older, they're insecure, their hypergamy kicks in, and they start thinking that they can go out here and get a better deal. And I talk about this in depth in my book, The Woman Crisis. And in The Woman Crisis, I talk about how many women who are married go on a quest for a better deal when they get older because they have been miseducated by feminists to believe 2 things. 1, that they have all the time in the world, and 2, they are just as attractive as they were when they were younger. And Tia Mowry, basically at 44 years old, thought she was still the same hottie she was on the teen sitcom Sister Sister, and the character she played when she was a bit older as Melanie in the game, and she thought that she could return to the dating game and find a better partner than Cory Hardrict, who she thought basically was somebody beneath her, because Cory was starting to rise as a man, because when it comes to men oftentimes don't reach their prime until their 40s, and Tia was basically in the days where she was at a state of a social decline, and this envy of Cory starting to rise, this really is the core reason, I believe, for Tia looking to divorce Cory. She wanted to divorce Cory because she was jealous of Cory starting to achieve success later on in life, because, again, when it comes to men, when they're younger, we oftentimes struggle because we're just starting to try to build ourselves up, and we're trying to build momentum. But once a man starts to reach his 40s and his early 50s, that's when he starts to reach his peak. And as Cory was starting to reach his peak, this is where Tia's jealousy started to rise. And as she started to get jealous of Cory, this is why she wanted another turn, even though she had gotten a turn early on and was blessed by God to have a good husband. But she didn't appreciate the husband that God had given her, who was the husband of her youth, and she thought she could go out here and find a better man. And as she thought she could find a better man, she started to go out here and make all of these statements about it being her turn. And as she went to go get that turn, this is where she went from the social marketplace to finding out that she was basically in Bust Downtown, again, with a social marketplace value lower than a $20 food stamp without the book. And I say lower than $20 food stamp because this woman basically destroyed her own social marketplace value because she was a high value woman in being a wife, and she wanted to go enter the social marketplace and experience dating. And the experience she got wasn't the one she thought she was going to get, because she thought she was going to go and get one of these millionaires or these billionaires to see how beautiful she was. Unfortunately, she didn't understand two things. One, she was an older black woman, and two, she basically wound up destroying an intangible of character that made it where no man wanted to deal with her, even the few that were available in the social marketplace, because as people get older, the pool of men out here starts to shrink, and it's already at a detriment because we already have 4 women for every 1 man. So the marketplace of guys that were available to Tia were only old Pookie, old Ray Ray, and Romy Rome. And Pookie and Ray Ray, they're still in their mama's house in the racing car beds. And when it comes to options, you have Romy Rome, who's only offering you some scrimp fried rice and chicken wings, a 2-piece chicken dinner from the Arab red and white chicken place, or possibly some White Castle cheeseburgers, and he might let you supersize if he's nice, or he might let you get apple pie from the Arab red and white chicken place. And he's only doing that because the only thing he wants from an older woman is for her to drop the skid mark jockey thong and allow him to put the carbon rod in there for some nuclear fusion in the atomic waste reactor. That's all that's left in the social marketplace for a much older woman like Tia Mowry, and she came into that rude awakening, and instead of her admitting that this whole plan to get a turn has just led to her getting turned out, what she's doing is participating in one of the things that keeps many black women single and miserable, which I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, and that's going out and continuing to double down on a position that is not benefiting her. And I've seen many black women in my South Bronx neighborhood and places where I've worked continue to double down on positions by trying to put on a veneer of strength, and as they look to put on this veneer of strength, what they do is show us how weak they are. And that's what Tia Mowry is doing by putting out this official story where she says that she's stronger than before. And being 1 year after her divorce. And 1 year after her divorce, now she's talking about she's recovering from a divorce where she said that she graduated from marriage. And it just shows how completely full of it this woman is in not wanting to concede that she made a mistake that we showed that she made back on Thanksgiving of 2023, where she had Cory Hardrict back in the house and was basically trying to make it look like she was trying to get back with this man. Again, this is what rumors are speculating, that she basically is trying to reconcile this marriage because she realizes that she made a mistake. But again, the black female pride makes it where she refuses to admit that she made a mistake and continues to try to make it look like she's strong, but you're not strong at all. And I've seen many black women here in my South Bronx neighborhood when I was growing up as a boy, and at many of these workplaces continue to try to hold on to this position, trying to be the strong black woman. But the whole thing is, as they try to put up this veneer of strength, it basically shows how weak their character is. And it's that weakness of character that leads to them winding up on the road to being single for the rest of their lives, because they're too proud to admit that they made a mistake, too proud to admit that they've messed up. Now, Tia wants to spin it and say she's taking her power back, but I see it where she's lost a lot of power. And she's lost a lot of power because she just doesn't want to admit that she's messed up and doesn't want to admit, hey, you divorced your husband for no reason, and you tried to go out and tried to find another man, but you didn't understand that the one thing that made most men in the dating marketplace want nothing to do with you is your character, and it's your character that turns so many men off, because most men, when they saw you, Tia Mowry, file this divorce against Cory Hardrict, who did nothing to her, realized that if she would do him dirty, then she would do them dirty as well. And because of her lack of character, this is the reason why most men didn't trust Tia Mowry. They didn't trust Tia Mowry because she didn't present any sort of character to show that she's a woman that a man can get respect from, because as she's sitting here, it's all about herself, and she doesn't understand that when you're in a relationship, you need to show a man that you have good intangibles of values and character. I talk about this in why 70% of black women are single. The one thing men want from a woman is to know that she's an honest and trustworthy woman, and Tia Mowry has shown most of us that she is an honest and trustworthy, and she continues to double down on this position, trying to go out here and tell these lies to us that she's told to herself about recovering from a divorce that she initiated. Again, she was the one who initiated this divorce. She was the one who initiated this divorce because she wanted to go out and get her turn. And now that she's gotten turned out by the social marketplace, now she wants to tell us that she was on a whirlwind journey that she's recovering from. Well, there's no recovering from the downward spiral that Tia Mowry is on, because Tia Mowry is now on the road to becoming a single mother. And a single mother, most men won't touch, no matter how many attention-seeking stunts she's pulled. I mean, she's pulled stunt after stunt. I mean, she tried to show us that flapjack butt of hers in some sort of thong. She's been trying to show us how sexy she is. And then now she's been trying to do these stunts talking about, oh, she's recovering with journaling and all of this stuff, this flowery language. Again, flowery language to talk about how she's recovering from things and trying to say that she's trying to deal with this whole situation. But the whole thing is that she's dealing with this situation in a dysfunctional fashion, because what she did to Cory, she knows she was wrong for. And instead of admitting, hey, you did something wrong to this man, you destroyed a marriage, and you've basically made yourself somebody nobody can trust. And now you want to say you want to bounce back and you're stronger than before. No, I see Tia Mowry as being weaker than before. I see her as being a woman in crisis who basically listened to a lot of feminists and a lot of so-called self-help gurus instead of consulting with the Most High God. And I see this Christian woman basically being misled by the devil and being led on a road to being spiritually lost, because any woman who follows God, she would understand that you don't divorce your husband. No, you don't divorce your husband outside of a fornication, which is sex outside of the marriage. That is the only reason for a divorce that Jesus gave us. But she divorced her husband for an arbitrary reason. And again, any man who got involved with her would be committing adultery under the standard of God. But she wants to go out here and make it look like she's the one who's the victim, but you're the one who did this to yourself, and did it to herself because she again wanted to listen to these feminists, listen to these hood rats who would tell her that she needed a turn, even though she had a good career and was on the way to building a family. But the whole thing is she walked away from all of that so that she could go out here and again be turned out, because the dating marketplace will turn you out if you don't have a goal of marriage. And again, as you get older, the marketplace becomes filled with a lot of the only leftovers. And again, these leftover old Pookies and Ray Rays, after getting her shot with them, this is what had her scurrying back to Cory Hardrict. But now she's trying to spin the story that is something different, and trying to make it look like, oh, this isn't what it is. But this is, again, textbook example of black female pride, because when it comes to the BW, she never wants to admit when she's wrong, doesn't want to admit she made a mistake, doesn't want to admit that her whole approach to life was a failure. And this is the kind of stuff that leads to many women winding up being single and miserable for the rest of their lives, because they don't want to acknowledge they made a mistake in disrespecting the man that they were with, and don't want to acknowledge that this man was a good man. This is the kind of stuff that leads to women winding up being miserable in their own company in their older age. And Tia Mowry is following this whole paradigm of failure that I talk about in my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, to the letter. And it's a shame, because the Most High God blessed her with a marriage and a family, and she walked away from all of that looking for a better deal. But at the end of the day, all Tia Mowry is getting, as she remains in her pride, is on a downward spiral to the rawest deal, as she will remain in Bust Downtown for over 90% off, and no dudes are going to touch her because no dudes can trust her. And sadly, she would rather stay in this place rather than try to admit that you're not on a whirlwind journey. No, sister, you're in the middle of a downward spiral, and you're almost about to hit rock bottom. Now, if you want to learn how to break out of the paradigm of failure that Tia Mowry currently is in, you can pick up my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Why 70% of Black Women Are Single at other online booksellers like Google Play, Draft the Digital, Smashwords, the iBookstore, and many others all across the globe. And if you want to learn why women like Tia Mowry wind up on this dysfunctional road, you can pick up my book, The Woman Crisis, on Amazon.com. And that book will explain to you why women like Tia Mowry go from being married women to women in crisis. And this book will show you how to break out of this paradigm and move your life forward. And if you want to see me make more videos taking celebrities like Tia Mowry to the barbecue, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.